Hi everyone, my name is Garima Arora and I work as a senior immigration consultant with UK Visas. At UK Visas, we specialize in immigration law. Today I'm going to speak to you about sponsor licenses, why it is becoming more desirable for companies in the UK to hold a sponsor license, the procedure and cost involved in obtaining one, and we will also discuss the common pitfalls and how to avoid them. In the UK, there are approximately 190,000 non-EU workers currently working. Of those, 115,000 are sponsored by their employees under the Tier 2 system. 32,000 UK organisations have a sponsor licence. This number should increase massively, especially come Brexit, as EU nationals who come to live and work in the UK post-Brexit will also require sponsorship. A sponsor license will enable a company to sponsor non-EU workers so they can get a visa to enter the UK and work for them. The organisation is known as the sponsor. A sponsor license application must be submitted to and granted by the Home Office. From 1st of January 2021, EU nationals will also need to be sponsored in order to work in the UK. A sponsor license will remain valid for 4 years once granted, and it can be renewed every 4 years, according to your company needs. Who can apply for a sponsor license? Well, if you're a genuine employer with a lawful trading presence in the UK, then you can apply for a sponsor license. You don't necessarily need to have a job role or a job opening in place to apply for a sponsor license, but you would have to explain to the Home Office why it will be necessary for your organization to have one. On the other hand, if you're a company that is seeking to employ staff from overseas or used to employ a lot of EEA nationals and will continue to do so post-Brexit, then it would be essential for you to hold a sponsor license. Pre-1st of December 2020, only candidates whose job roles were RQF level 6 or above could be sponsored. This meant the jobs had to be graduate level. From December 2020, this definition has been broadened to include RQF level 3 jobs or above, which means A-level jobs up to graduate level jobs. This means a lot more businesses can benefit from having a sponsor license. This leads us to why you should apply as a company for a sponsor license. Well, first of all, it's useful for a company to hold a sponsor license so they can access a global pool of talent, especially as the UK has a skills shortage, and having a sponsor license will allow you to tap into this talent without undue delay. There are many businesses in the UK where they require skills that cannot be sourced from within the UK. And if you're a business who used to heavily recruit from EU countries, you will need to have a sponsor license to be able to employ new EEA nationals coming to the UK post-Brexit. A sponsor license will also make you desirable as a company to candidates from all over the world who can contribute greatly to your business. Obtaining a sponsor license can be tricky, as Home Office put constraints on the type of documents they require, the number of documents that are required, and whether the document has to be original or certified. The procedure involves gathering, firstly, the supporting documentation in the correct format. Typically, in a sponsor license application, you need to provide 4 documents. They are from the mandatory list of documents. They include documents such as employer's liability or VAT certificate or your latest company bank statement and your latest company financial accounts. The documentation can vary depending on if you're a startup, If you're an established company, if you're applying for a tier 2 license or you're applying for a tier 5 license. So it's always good to get some legal advice before you start the procedure and understand correctly what documentation you require as a company. Along with the documentation, we always recommend that a covering letter is submitted, so that you can tell Home Office the rationale for requiring a sponsor license, whether you need it in terms of your expanding business, the growth of your business, you need it because you recruit EU nationals, or generally you have a need to recruit a specific skill set that you find hard to gain in the UK. If you have a candidate in mind already that you wish to sponsor, then it's good to highlight the job vacancy that is opened and you've been finding it difficult to recruit from within the UK. Once all of this documentation has been gathered, the application is completed and submitted online. A signed submission sheet, license fee, and documentation must be posted to the Home Office within 5 days. Normally now, all of this can be done via email, and all your supporting documents can be emailed to the Home Office. It can take typically anywhere between 3 to 8 weeks for an application to be processed. There is a priority service available now where you can opt in and pay £500 additional to the Home Office, and they will aim to make a decision on your license application within 10 working days. This depends on how straightforward your application is, whether they require any further documentation or not. So the priority service, even if you do get accepted, it may not be guaranteed. Once the license is granted, you can issue what are called certificate of sponsorship to an individual that you wish to hire, and they can then use that in support of their working visa application. The cost of the sponsor license depends on the type of organization you are. If you are a small to medium organization, the fee would be £536 for 4 years, as well as if you're a charity. If you're a large organization, then the fee for your sponsor license will be £1,476. You can see on the screen how you can determine whether you're a small or a large organization. Do note, further costs are applicable for obtaining a visa for an employee. The cost you can see on the screen now are only to do with the sponsor license. And as I mentioned previously, you can pay an additional fee of £500 to opt in for the priority service. Once your sponsor license is granted, it does come with duties and responsibility. One person from your organization will need to be the authorizing officer. An authorizing officer is typically someone who has a senior role in relation to recruitment and can confidently answer questions about the HR procedures within your organization. The duties will involve monitoring the migrant that you hire and reporting any changes of circumstances for both the company and the migrant. You will be expected to keep up-to-date records of a migrant's visa, their contact details, and their absences. Typically, any changes must be reported within 10 working days. In the event of a compliance visit, the authorizing officer should be able to produce all the documents that are requested or have knowledge of how and where these documents are held. UKVI can visit a sponsor at any time before or after the license is granted and conduct a compliance audit with the authorizing officer. Essentially, this is an on-site immigration audit where documents may be requested and compliance procedures will be checked. These audits can be announced or unannounced. Typically, with a pre-license visit, they will normally announce it and set up a date with the authorizing officer when they can visit the office and ask them questions on why a license is required and also about the procedures they have in place. If you have sponsored migrants working for you, they may also be interviewed to check they're working in accordance of the details on their certificate of sponsorship. This is why it is important that any changes in the migrant's role, salary, hours, main working address are immediately reported to the Home Office. If there are compliance failures identified by the Home Office, at their discretion, they may downgrade the sponsor license from A grade to B grade or suspend or revoke your license. This can be very serious as it can impact those who are already working for you as sponsored workers or your ability to hire new sponsored workers. To avoid this, organizations like us can run trial audits with our client to ensure they're compliant and prepared for such visits. It is also good for the authorizing officers and the HR within the company to keep up to date with any guidances released by the Home Office on what the sponsor duties are, the right to work checklist, so that everyone is well prepared and an efficient system can be put into place at your organization to make sure you remain compliant with the Home Office duties. Let's now discuss some of the top reasons for refusal of a sponsor license application. A typical reason for refusal is that the company has a poor record of business compliance or it is not suitably accredited to carry out its functions. Another reason is that no attempt was made by the company to find a UK worker suitable for the role, or the vacancy is not considered to be genuine by the Home Office. Pre-December 2020, there was a condition on sponsors to advertise the role for 28 days to see if any UK or EEA workers could fulfill the role. This condition has now been taken away, but we are strongly recommending our clients to still advertise any job vacancies and keep a record on their file of where they advertised the job, any candidates that applied for the job, and why were the other candidates rejected and the sponsored migrant chosen for this particular job vacancy. Another reason is insufficient documents are provided to support the application. Either the documents are missing or they are not in the correct format as required by the Home Office. After a compliance visit, the Home Office might determine that the internal HR systems are not deemed to be robust enough to enable the organization to meet the sponsor duties. So before an application is submitted, it is good to do an internal check of your HR system against the sponsor duties specified by the Home Office and what they want you to have on record to remain compliant. Lastly, another typical reason for a sponsor license to be refused is if the UKVI compliance visit did not go well and you as an organization fail to satisfy the UKVI against their checklist. Having a sponsor license refused can have consequences for your organization. It could lead to a 6-month ban against making a new application for a sponsor license in certain circumstances. And it could lead to significant delay in you recruiting your sponsored migrant, as without a sponsor license, they cannot start working for you, which can be very frustrating for you as a business, especially if you were recruiting for a role that was associated with time-sensitive projects. So our first tip would be to get legal advice and assistance. Companies like ours have managed hundreds of successful sponsor license applications, so we can help you get it right the first time. Sponsors, and especially the authorizing officer, must ensure they have thorough understanding of documents they need to keep and the changes that need to be reported. So if there is any compliance visit, license or after their license, then they can show the Home Office that they know what their duties are and that they have been complying with those duties. You need to have a proper internal procedure to keep contact details up to date for all your sponsored migrants. You can have companies like us conduct trial audits to ensure HR systems are adequate and robust. We offer this to all our clients, and it's better to be prepared than underprepared. And as I said, you need to have adequate internal systems to monitor migrants and retain key documents in a confidential manner. So if you're a company that has been looking into getting a sponsor license, I would say prepare yourself now. I would suggest review your recruitment plans. What is your company's recruitment planning for the next 2 to 3 years? Whether you need to employ any workers from overseas. Is there any skill sets that you find difficult to come by in the UK? Remember, a license is valid for 4 years and there's no requirement that you have to sponsor a migrant as soon as you're granted a license, but at least you can be prepared as to when the eventuality arises and you need to sponsor someone from overseas. So if you're thinking of getting a sponsor license or you already have one but think you would benefit from someone like us helping you along the way, then please do get in touch. Our details will be on the next slide. You can contact us on the telephone number or drop us an email, and we can offer you a free consultation to understand your needs and how we can help. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we will be back with more informative videos on all aspects of immigration law.